So this is the part 3, and before I go any further, I will need to check my audio if that is going well. The audio is the hardest part of everything, on everything, yeah, really. So let's check that. So I'll check if everything with audio is fine. Okay, so it looks okay. Anyway, so we'll just go ahead with the next part of this book, which is called the game loop. So what we are doing, so let me open up the code editor really fast, and I'll also launch the file, the game. Let me do that from files. Okay, it's here. Let's go, and so we're working with this folder, drgtk, and here we are. This is where from we'll run our game and everything. So let's remember that we had this the last time we left the game. We actually were here. Okay, so there is hello alien, hello dragon, and our dragon here. Okay, so hello spaceship. Okay, anyway, so let's go with this. So what you are doing is there's the part of the game that you are concerned with as a developer, as the game developer. You just define, there's a function defined called def tick, and then with args, and you just make changes inside this function and everything just happens. Okay, but what exactly goes on, right? So this is where the concept of game loop comes in. So okay, so this is where the game loop comes in, and so what really happens is, so our loop is run that calls itself 60 times every second until the program closes. So basically what happens is, you are saying this like totally like a space, like a totally continuous space. The stuff written hello spaceship, it's just written there, and you just read it as you're reading it as it is written on paper, just like it is written on paper. But that's not what really happens. So the game engine renders everything 60 times per second. There is 60 fps, and your eyes have lower frequency than that, and your eyes are reading just as it was read on paper. Okay, so this is what happens. So this is the game loop. So there are many things happening one at a time. So enemies move when you play games. Enemies move, enemies fire at you, or you face obstacles and you press your buttons, and then your character responds to that, or something else happens. Okay, so everything is being handled. So the loop runs over and over again. So when a change is there, the game engine just renders it in the next frame. So there are 60 frames per second, and whenever the change is there, the game just does it. Okay, so this is that's exactly what I was going to say. So how screens on devices work, like your laptop or your television, even or if even some, those digital posters that we see on digital screens in our markets nowadays, and really a lot of those things are in cities like New York, Tokyo, big cities. So even if there are things that might seem that they are really static, just being there, so what they are actually doing is they're just rendering 60 images per second, and that makes things look static in your eyes. Okay, so this is what happens. So this diagram is really important, really interesting. So what happens in the game loop? This is happening 60 times per second, and so it is checking for input, and it is updating the world, and play any sounds and render graphics. So this is how a lot of things are done in programming, and not only games but a lot of GUI graphical user interface applications are also this way. So they are running a loop, a while loop, that is while true this structure. So let's write some online Python. Okay, let's go with this. So when you do things, let's write this while true. So this is how you write an infinite loop in Python. So print hello. Okay, so let's run this. So it will just keep running hello, 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 hello. It just doesn't stop. Okay, so there's one thing that I need you to know, that so if you so this is how everything is done. So whenever something is done in a graphical user interface or in a game, so there is basically infinite loop that is running 60 times per second, and or some other frame rate. So it's just happening, it's just being there, and it's checking for input on every step of the way. Okay, and then update if there are world updates, like like we saw, like new targets appearing with our dragon game. So let's just go ahead and show this to you, what I mean here. Okay, so this is here. So let's run this for a quick while. Okay, so let's do this. So whatever is happening is every second the game is doing 60 updates, 60 times it's checking for updates. So whenever I'm clicking a key, let's show you this. So whenever I'm pressing something, whenever a key press is being done, it is detecting that, and whenever I am throwing fire, so it is rendering the sound. Okay, let's go again. So whenever I'm pressing Z, just look at this carefully. So no key is being pressed, I'm pressing Z, the game engine gets that, and it shows a fireball being thrown out of the that. And not only that, not only key press. So the key press is being done like this. When you press Z, something appears. But it is not only about the key press. So new targets are also appearing. Whenever old targets gets destroyed, a new target appears, right? So let's see. So one target is destroyed. This new one appeared right here. So this is something part of the world, and it also happens that way. That makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. Let's stop this sound because it might make hearing difficult what I am saying. So you see that, right? So this is totally how to play this game. And so the new thing that appears, and also you can see that the dragon is flapping its wing even if I'm not pressing anything. So this is just the sprite being updated, the sprite being played different times. We'll also cover these concepts later on, and we'll also cover these concepts later. So this is basically what the game loop does. It checks for input, it makes changes in the world, and if there are any sound involved, it does that, it renders graphic. So these are the 4 parts. Okay, so let's check for input. So this is checking the input. See, whenever I'm pressing up or down, I can also go left or right. Okay, so it is checking for input. If there is an input and this is a valid input, and it's just updates the character or the world, and whenever something gets destroyed, a new target comes on. Okay, new target comes, this is the update of the world, and playing sounds. You can see that if I press, there's a fire sound, right? And there is also targets getting destroyed sound. Let's say whenever a fireball hits the target, it's a shoom sound, right? So that's what happens. Okay, so and then render graphics are rendered. Okay, so let me stop this. Let's not do sudo. Okay, good. Okay, so this will start to feel more natural over time. If you have ever done any GUI programming where it was involved, you had to write some loop where it updated stuff. It was basically running a loop forever and checking for inputs. Okay, so whenever you pressed a button or you did something, so this is what happened. So it's an infinite loop. It's checking it for user input at some interval. It might be 1/60th of a second, it might be lower, it might be higher, but when it registers something, it does something based on the logic of the program. So this is basically the same thing that's happening.